Hello, everyone. Um, I'm not here to answer any client question this time because that's what I've usually been doing. But this time, I'm actually wanting to share certain thoughts of two different clients, two different stories. But I think somewhere I felt that we all can learn to from the two different kind of stories and relate with both the stories actually. So I've happened to meet this 62-year-old client, and she started off her session. She's a new client, so she started off her session with a beautiful poem in Hindi, which summarizes. I mean, if I actually summarize, I actually summarized it for her as to what I have understood from the poem, or my takeaway from the poem about her life is she's felt unseen, unheard, in her relationship. I think that was the summary of the poem. And when I said this line, she ended up crying because I got the crux of the emotion. So many years into marriage, married for the last 40 years, but she felt unheard and unseen in the last 40 years. What a pity, no? On the other hand, again, a 61-year-old woman who came to me with grief, with grief of losing her husband, and it's just been 14 months that she's lost him, and she's still not able to move on and accept that he's no longer there physically, and she's unable to cope with his absence. So when I asked her about why she misses him so dearly and why what is making her grieve so much, because her children want her to move on and her children think that she's grieving for too long. But as a therapist, I told her that there is no limit on grief. Each person copes with grief differently in different times, in different timelines. So she happened to tell me that it's actually the bond with him. It's like a soul connect, you know. So instantly my antenna went up because soul connect, I haven't heard anyone speaking about it after living with a man for about 40 years. And she says that it was more like a soul connect. So I asked her, can you tell me what made you say it's actually a soul connect with your husband? And she happens to tell me that we were both dependent on each other. We were independent but yet dependent on each other. I was physically weak because I had a lot of ailments to my body, and time and again I would fall sick, right? And he would understand this need of me, and he would help me in the kitchen, around the house, with kids, without ever asking for help. He would just know when I needed it, and he would just do it without being asked. On the other hand, I would cater to his emotional needs because he always needed someone to talk to, probably talk about how his day at office went or at work went. He wanted to share all of that, and he wanted someone to just listen to him without actually advising or suggesting, and I was there. And the best thing she told, in the process is that I felt it's a beautiful expression or a beautiful gesture. She said that I would just know every day when he would be back from work, I would just know how he would close the door of the lift. I could actually understand that he's coming home by his footsteps. So I would really understand all of that. I was very, very alert to all of that. And I would open the door even before he would ring the bell, like out of the lift, and he gets to see me without even ringing the doorbell. So I felt it was such a beautiful gesture, And she told me that she would do it, or she's done it all 40 years. And she also shared that, when she would leave the vegetables washed on the dining table, her husband would actually chop the vegetables without her having to ask him. he would actually make coffee for her and bring it to her bed when she wouldn't get up, when she was just not having that energy that day to get herself up from the bed and get into the kitchen. He would just do that, make that coffee and get her to the bed without having to ask for it. I felt what a beautiful relationship and what an inspiration, and we all need to learn from that story, including me, because most of the times I think in relationships, all we need is we want to be seen, we want to be felt, we want to be heard, right? So in one story it was missing and she had to put it into a poem. She's never able to express it to her spouse. But in the other story, they have expressed it so much now that they are missing each other because of loss. She's grieving the loss of her husband. So sometimes I feel that, in our culture, I think if we can just talk about, or have these conversations with people, and if we can just listen to their life stories, sometimes you really don't need a psychologist. If you're attentive, I think we learn from the life stories of the other person. So I felt, rather than me counseling them, if I can just get all three of them together, like, the husband and the wife who's grieving, and if she can share her life lessons, I just wish if the husband learns the lessons and, you know, gets what wife needs without being told, or at least understand what was missing in their relationship. What a beautiful thing, exchange of our life stories, and we learn a lot. Thank you so much.